Alright everyone, it is Finn here and welcome to my Champions League quarterfinal prediction video where only 8 teams remain in the biggest European competition in world football. And of course today we've got 4 incredible games to talk about. We've got Benfica versus Inter, we've got Man City versus Bayern Munich, where Pep Guardiola will have to prove a point versus his former employers.
I'm so happy, believe me.
Obviously, we also have the likes of an Italian derby with AC Milan versus Napoli. And of course, we end off the quarterfinal first leg with Real Madrid versus Chelsea. Can Frank Lampard do what most people, frankly, don't think he's capable to do?
That we want you, the fans at home and abroad, to support someone else.
Obviously, all of that in today's video, so let's jump into our first game, as I said, with Benfica versus Inter. Now, of course, look at Benfica, this might upset a lot of people, but I'm going to have to go for them with a 2-1 win. Obviously, looking at Inter, they haven't had a bad season domestically or in Europe this season, but I just don't find that they have that cutting edge to them. Obviously, looking at them in their previous round, they did face another Portuguese giant with Porto, but I wouldn't say that they were by far the better team there, especially versus a Benfica team who have great history in European football, and on top of that, unbeaten in the Champions League this season. With 2 wins versus Inter, they've obviously gotten 2 draws versus PSG, and absolutely dominated the likes of Club Brugge. I think Benfica have had a by far better season, and they could pull off what many people see as another surprise here. I mean, on the attacking front, they've been absolutely clinical. Defensively, they've also been very, very solid, and I think they've got every possibility of locking down Inter. Once again, this is only the first leg, so we'll have to make judgments based off of this, but once again, I do think Benfica could hold a surprise here. Now, of course, jumping into our second game, we have Man City versus Bayern Munich. Now, of course, this would have to be the worst decision of Pep Guardiola's entire career if they end up losing to Bayern Munich due to João Cancelo getting 2 assists. No! For Bayern Munich. Once again, I still can't quite wrap my head around that decision from Pep, but at the end of the day, I do think Man City still have a serious chance here. I do think, once again, we've seen some very clinical moments from them in the season. Obviously, Erling Haaland is back for them, scoring just a casual 30 Premier League goals this season at only 22 years old.
Quite popular now, we have to say.
Once again, that man is an absolute beast, and versus what was a former rival of his, I mean, he might just switch that hunger on again. Once again, he is a robot, so I don't know if he's got enough software updates to deal with something like that. But looking at Manchester City, I do think they could still do it versus Bayern Munich, but I am going to put it down as a 2-2 draw, as I do think it is one of those games they'll go down to the second leg. I'm also not really going to put a win or loser here, because I still can't really judge Thomas Tuchel at Bayern Munich. It is still very, very early days for him, but I do like his potential and what he could do with this Bayern Munich team. Obviously, as I said, they haven't been dominating Bundesliga this season, but I do think maybe Thomas Tuchel could really strive with that. Once again, I do think it could be a close game, and I am going to put it down as 2-2, although it could go either way. Now, jumping into our next game, it is an Italian derby with AC Milan versus Napoli. Now, both of these two teams playing in the same league obviously makes it quite a bit easier to predict, as they do play against each other and the same opposition week in, week out. And I'm obviously going to have to go for Napoli, obviously dominating the Serie A this season, and I have to give it to them with a 3-1 win here. Although, once again, AC Milan aren't a bad team, they just haven't been as dominant this year, and they've really let some of their points slip. Once again, you've got the likes of Rafael Leao, who I'm sure will make a major move this summer, but at the end of the day, I have to give it to Napoli with the likes of Victor Osimhen up front, Kvaratskhelia, and so many other stars that go underrated and unmentioned. Once again, by far the better team this season, have to give it to them. Obviously, heading into our final Champions League quarterfinal game, we have Real Madrid versus Chelsea. Now, of course, Chelsea have just lost to Wolves under Frank Lampard in the Premier League. And looking at Real Madrid, yes, they've just lost their most recent La Liga game, but once again, we know when it comes to European football, Real Madrid are just a different animal.
I am inevitable.
I mean, they might as well just change the Champions League to Real Madrid's trophy. I mean, they've won it more than any other team in the history. Looking at last week, Benzema scored hat-tricks in back-to-back games. And versus a very weak Chelsea team, I think there's no argument here. I think Real Madrid should dominate this one with a 3-1 win. Obviously, as we know, the likes of Thibaut Courtois will be facing his former team then, also Eden Hazard from the bench, I guess. But as I said, Real Madrid, just by far a better team. We've just seen way more from them in recent years, and I have to give it to them. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for my first leg predictions for the Champions League quarterfinals. As I said, if you guys disagree with absolutely anything I said, do let me know down below. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, as we still are on the road to 10,000 subscribers. Of course, I'll see you guys all very, very soon. Enjoy the first leg. Cheers.